Imagine discovering one day that your place of employment has evolved into the largest touring carnival in sports history. There are no more vacant seats. The loud, ear-splitting roars of 18,000 screaming spectators took the place of the calm, laid-back stadia. The constant, oppressive media debates on national television, the excessive security measures, the paparazzi at every hotel, and the chartered flights. Greetings from the new Indiana Fever reality. Welcome to the Caitlin Clark Effect's complete insanity. However, while all of the world's cameras are focused on number 22, a very different and more complex narrative is taking place behind the limelight. What is it really like to share the court, the locker room, and the overwhelming pressure that comes with playing with a basketball legend from a previous generation? We have heard the story presented by the mainstream media, as well as the hostile trolls on social media. On daytime television, we have heard the experts yelling, but we hardly ever hear the harsh, unvarnished reality from those who truly experience it every day on the court. Up until now. The Indiana Fever's defensive pillar and skilled shooter, Lexie Hull, is unquestionably one of Caitlin Clark's closest teammates. She recently broke her silence. Additionally, what she said about the toxic myths around the league, the brutal reality of the Clark effect, and her final decision to return to Indiana reveals a side of this legendary squad that everyone else entirely missed. Make sure to hit the subscribe button before we delve deeply into Lexie Hull's discoveries. The single source for the most in-depth basketball analysis available online is WNBA Pro, which you are currently watching. Let's now discuss the Indiana Fever's hidden reality.
Hull's out there on that court at all times. Lexie Hull took to Sophie Cunningham's Show Me Something podcast, and she addressed the truth about being a part of Caitlin Clark's team, and make no mistake about it, Lexie Hull wants to stay. Lexie Hull wants to stay, guys. She does not want to go anywhere. She is looking to return to Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. We got to break this whole thing.
We need to go back in time and examine the origins of this franchise in order to fully comprehend the astounding significance of Lexie Hull's remarks. For a moment, let's be totally honest. The Indiana Fever were stuck in the WNBA's dark cellar until 2024. In the midst of a harsh, merciless reconstruction, they were suffering. After being selected 6th overall in the 2022 draft from Stanford University, Lexie Hull brought a distinguished championship background to a professional squad in dire need of a winning culture. However, moving from college to the professional ranks is rarely a picture-perfect experience. Hull and the Fever labored in relative obscurity for 2 torturous seasons. They battled for every possession and played extremely hard, but they had few victories and received virtually little coverage in the national media. Then, in consecutive years, the ping-pong balls of the draft lottery bounced their way. They started by securing Aaliyah Boston's commanding inside presence. Then Caitlin Clark showed in, causing a seismic upheaval. The Indiana Fever went from being a complete afterthought on League Pass to the undeniable centerpiece of American sports culture almost overnight. The shift was abrupt, dramatic, and overwhelming. Additionally, nobody could have anticipated the adjustment period for either the youthful core or the seasoned guys that were already in that locker room. Every single missed shot was over. A 3-day national television debate was triggered by every single hard foul on Caitlin Clark. Millions of new fans who were watching the WNBA for the first time analyzed every coaching staff rotation, every substitution, and every minute facial expression on the bench. It is very simple to assume that these athletes are successful based on the sold-out venues and chartered aircraft, but the psychological cost of performing under such intense scrutiny is enormous. You are now taking part in a huge cultural phenomena rather than just playing basketball. And that strong spotlight will burn you alive if you lack the exceptional mental toughness to block out the noise. However, Lexie Hull flourished under the oppressive strain rather than melting. Not only did she survive the Caitlin Clark effect, but she turned it into a weapon.
2,000 people in an empty gym to now every game is sold out at 18,000 plus every single night, home and away. That is a big change. Lexie Hull felt that change immediately.
It might be. It might be.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's hard. I think like once you start winning and once more people start showing up, like your experience changes.
Gravity is a highly specific idea in the modern game of basketball. The gravity of superstars is offensive. LeBron James has it, Stephen Curry has it, And Caitlin Clark had the strongest gravitational pull this league had ever seen the instant she set foot on a WNBA court. Her logo three-pointers completely worried the opposing defensive coordinators. At 94 feet, they face-guarded her. On each and every pick and roll, they violently blitzed her. As soon as she reached the half-court line, they sent hard, trapping double teams. Basketball is now a game of numbers. Someone else is left wide open when a defense desperately devotes two players to the ball handler. However, being transparent is not the same as genuinely holding a professional defense team accountable for their errors. The Indiana Fever had severe problems with their floor space early in the season. Indiana's role players were actively challenged by opponents to shoot from the perimeter. They forcefully trapped Caitlin outside and piled the paint to totally neutralize Aaliyah Boston. A pressure release valve was sorely needed by the Fever. They required a ruthless assassin on the wing. Go into Lexie Hull. Lexie's exceptional basketball IQ, developed over many years at Stanford under renowned coach Tara Vanderveer, went into overdrive. From a military perspective, she understood exactly what the Clark effect meant. It meant that Caitlin would find you by magic if you ran the floor as hard as you could and transitioned. It meant that the basketball would hit you precisely in the shooting pocket if you moved to the corner when Caitlin drove into the paint. Lexie accepted the crucial position of the ultimate 3-and-D enforcer wholeheartedly. She became a complete threat on defense, gladly accepting the most difficult perimeter defensive responsibilities every single night. She sacrificed her body diving on the parquet for loose balls, battled through harsh screens, and continuously blocked passing lanes. She became a skilled sniper on the offensive. She became one of the most effective and deadly spot-up shooters in the whole WNBA as her three-point shooting percentage soared to the top of the league charts. You can hear their complete, unflinching trust as you listen to Lexie talk about playing with Caitlin. This was a pure, natural basketball synergy rather than an unpleasant, contrived alliance. The entire basketball court's geometry opened up for the Indiana Fever offense at the precise moment Lexie began mercilessly punishing defenders for double Caitlin. However, Hull and Clark's wonderful chemistry was formed on more than just the court. In actuality, X's and O's have nothing to do with the most important and illuminating aspect of Lexie's stark honesty regarding the Caitlin Clark effect. It's all about what really occurs when the lights in the stadium go out and the TV cameras are finally switched off.
Do their thing, but when you have players that are going to go take the charge, like, you're just so tough, and they're just like, people appreciate it, and when you have sold out crowds everywhere you go, it's just appreciated, and it feels good as players.
Now, let's be real here. Would anybody be checking for Lexie Hull had she not been Caitlin Clark's teammate? Now, we love Lexie Hull. We want her here to stay, but that goes to show the value.
You would imagine the Indiana Fever locker room was a toxic war zone if you blindly let the story to be told by the daytime sports media. Talking heads and constant clickbait pieces made a valiant effort to propagate a false narrative of intense jealousy, bitter hatred, and team fracture during the entire historic season. They attempted to create the unsettling impression that Caitlin Clark was alone on her own island and that the seasoned WNBA players hated the newbies. However, a whole other lovely reality became apparent if you paid great attention to the Fever, their true interactions off the court, and their body language on the bench. Furthermore, Lexie Hull is a genuine, breathing example of how the media's poisonous narrative was entirely made up for easy clicks. Naturally, Lexie and Caitlin developed a close relationship that soon served as the Indiana Fever franchise's emotional pillar. They developed into really close best friends, hilarious TikTok teammates, and inseparable road trip companions. Their genuine connection served as a haven during a trying time marked by intolerable national pressure and relentless stifling scrutiny. The terrible honesty that the sports world sorely needed to hear is right there. Lexie Hull and the rest of the resilient Fever team were busy constructing an impenetrable fortress around their rookie point guard, while experts and TV studios were busy trying to dissect the team in order to increase viewership. Lexie has a deep understanding of a fundamental aspect of championship-winning teams. If your locker room is disorganized, you will not be able to win a ring.
I wanted to reach for, and I feel like now with the social media and just even like TV and the accessibility for people, like they see us and they can actually like have these dreams so much earlier. And to be one of those people is really special.
She going to games. Let's be real. Lexie Hull's first however many years in the league prior to Caitlin getting there, do you think she ever looked in the stands and saw anybody wearing a number 10 Lexie Hull jersey that wasn't a family member? No.
You would imagine the Indiana Fever locker room was a toxic war zone if you blindly let the story to be told by the daytime sports media. Talking heads and constant clickbait pieces made a valiant effort to propagate a false narrative of intense jealousy, bitter hatred, and team fracture during the entire historic season. They attempted to create the unsettling impression that Caitlin Clark was alone on her own island and that the seasoned WNBA players hated the newbies. However, a whole other lovely reality became apparent if you paid great attention to the Fever, their true interactions off the court, and their body language on the bench. Furthermore, Lexie Hull is a genuine, breathing example of how the media's poisonous narrative was entirely made up for easy clicks. Naturally, Lexie and Caitlin developed a close relationship that soon served as the Indiana Fever franchise's emotional pillar. They developed into really close best friends, hilarious TikTok teammates, and inseparable road trip companions. Their genuine connection served as a haven during a trying time marked by intolerable national pressure and relentless stifling scrutiny. The terrible honesty that the sports world sorely needed to hear is right there. Lexie Hull and the rest of the resilient Fever team were busy constructing an impenetrable fortress around their rookie point guard, while experts in TV studios were busy trying to dissect the team in order to increase viewership. Lexie has a deep understanding of a fundamental aspect of championship-winning teams. If your locker room is disorganized, you will not be able to win a ring.
Super important, guys. I know, listen, man, I know they want to keep Kelsey, but look, long term, we can keep Tres Leches together with Aaliyah Boston. I'm all in, man. I'm all in, man. Lexie Hull, nothing but glowing things to say about being a part of this Indiana Fever team and organization, especially with the upgrades and the changes since the arrival of the GOAT, Caitlin Clark. She wants to run it back. Make no mistake about it. Give Lexie Hull a 3-year deal. We want to keep her.
She was able to witness Caitlin's severe physical abuse on the court each and every night. The rookie was intended to be intimidated and broken by the cheap shots, the blatant fouls, and the severe, almost nasty aggression. And how did Lexie react right away? She became the team's enforcer right away. Hull was always the first player in Clark's face when other players attempted to engage in needless physical contact. Every time, she was the first to run over and retrieve her point guard from the ground. She was vehemently defending not just a teammate but also the franchise's future. The toxic chatter surrounding the team was totally neutralized by Lexie's unwavering willingness to take the hard hits, do the dirty work, and loudly and proudly back Caitlin in the media. She contributed to the conclusive demonstration that the Caitlin Clark effect is not the result of a single player performing better than the squad as a whole. It beautifully depicts a group of women banding together to confront a momentous occasion in sports history. The Indiana Fever had officially made their big stage debut as the dust settled on a genuinely historic record-breaking season. They broke records for both television viewership and arena attendance, but most significantly, they demonstrated beyond a shadow of a doubt that they belonged in the serious playoff discussion. However, enormous success in the brutal world of professional athletics immediately presents additional, challenging obstacles. The WNBA's off-season is infamously erratic and chaotic. In the blink of an eye, rosters can be drastically altered by free agency periods, expansion drafts, players deciding to play abroad, or joining new leagues. After her incredible breakthrough performance, Lexie Hull suddenly had a lot of power. She demonstrated to the other players in the league her unquestionable superior value. A lockdown perimeter defender who shoots more than 40% from beyond the arc would be extremely valuable to any WNBA title contender. What would she do next, then, was the crucial question. Would she decide to leave the media circus in search of another, possibly more lucrative opportunity? Her response was as direct, strong, and fiercely devoted as her playing technique. For Lexie, moving back to Indiana was anything but a straightforward business choice. It was a strong declaration of intent. It served as a clear reminder to the rest of the league that Indianapolis still has a long way to go. Lexie Hull is not merely returning to ride the enormous Clark effect wave in comfort. She is coming back to complete what this core group daringly began. The rest of the league is terrified when you consider the terrible foundation they have established in Indiana. You possess Aaliyah Boston's overwhelming, irresistible inner presence. You have Kelsey Mitchell's lightning-fast scoring prowess. You have Caitlin Clark's unparalleled visionary playmaking. Additionally, the complete circumference is held together by the ultimate glue. Hull. Lexie. This is more than simply a fun team with promise. This team has a terrifyingly high ceiling and has been tested in combat. Lexie is secretly aware that the unshakable bond they developed during the intensive media circus of the previous season cannot be duplicated somewhere else. They made it through the most difficult and taxing portion of the trip. Under the world's brightest, hottest lights, they were able to learn how to play professional basketball. Right now, it's time to start seriously pursuing a WNBA title. Every false story around the Indiana Fever is destroyed by Lexie Hull's blunt and refreshing honesty. It serves as a powerful reminder that these are real, committed athletes exploring an entirely unexplored historic region in women's sports, hidden behind the incredible television numbers, the never-ending viral tweets, and the draining daily discussions. Unquestionably, the Caitlin Clark effect permanently altered the WNBA. It brought millions of eyeballs, enormous sums of money, and oppressive pressure. However, it also brilliantly displayed the genuine, indisputable nature of the amazing players who were standing directly behind her. It would have been easy for Lexie Hull to blend into the silent background. She had the option of being completely engulfed by the intense pressure of this new period. Rather, she fearlessly into the intense spotlight, made a confident three-pointer from the corner, and screamed to the world that the Indiana Fever are definitely not a one-woman show. They are a ferocious sisterhood, a brotherhood, and an all-encompassing, unstoppable force that is fully prepared to conquer the league. One thing is certain as we look to the eagerly awaited future: the rest of the WNBA needs to get ready. Because the Indiana Fever are just getting started, Lexie Hull is waiting in the corner, and Caitlin Clark has the basketball. I sincerely appreciate you watching WNBA Pro. Please hit the like button and subscribe for more in-depth basketball analysis if you like this in-depth look into the true story of the Fever. I'll see you on the course.